imagine you're doing, I don't know, 150 miles an hour down the straightaway of a track.
Right.
Your heart is hammering, the corners are coming up super fast, and you press a single physical yellow button right there on the center console.
Yeah, just one button.
And instantly the suspension drops 15 millimeters. The rear bodywork actually physically stretches outward by 4 inches to slice through the air. And maybe most shockingly of all, every single digital screen inside the cabin just physically folds away into the dashboard.
It is wild. Welcome to the deep dive, everyone.
Yes, welcome. Today we are taking you on a really high-speed, highly technical journey into a vehicle that, well, it asks a pretty fascinating question. In an era where cars are basically just becoming, rolling iPads, is the ultimate automotive luxury actually the power to make the digital world completely disappear?
It's a completely counterintuitive approach to modern car design, and I mean, that's exactly why we need to unpack it today.
Yeah.
Because we're looking at the brand new Gran Turismo concept from Lynk Co.
Right, if they just unveiled.
Exactly. It's a 10-year anniversary statement piece they've officially named Time to Shine.
And man, what a statement it actually is. I mean, we're talking about a young 10-year-old brand jumping straight into the classic Gran Turismo space.
Which is bold.
Super bold. That arena is normally reserved for these legacy European automakers who have, a century of history building these giant continent-crushing Grand Tours. So bringing a massive two-door GT to the 2026 Beijing Auto Show is just a huge flex.
Oh, absolutely.
It's essentially this physical manifestation of a decade of championship motorsport heritage, but injected straight into a highly advanced artificial intelligence network.
Exactly. And a Gran Turismo, just by definition, is supposed to be the ultimate dual-purpose machine, right?
Right. It has to do both things well.
Exactly. It has to be comfortable enough to cross a whole continent, but then capable enough to completely dominate a mountain road when you finally get there. So to really understand how they've tackled that dual nature, we kind of need to start from the outside in.
Yeah, look at the foundational engineering.
Right. Starting right where the rubber meets the road.
Okay, well, let's start with the sheer footprint of this thing, because the dimensions are just wild.
They really are.
According to the press materials, it sits on a 2,750 millimeter wheelbase. It's 4,780 millimeters long and exactly 2 meters wide, and yet it is only 1,330 millimeters tall.
Just to put those numbers into perspective for you, 2 meters wide is broader than a lot of full-size family SUVs on the road today.
Yeah.
But the roofline is just a little over 4 feet off the ground.
Right. It completely upends normal car proportions. I was looking at the photos, and it honestly looks like a Sprinter locked into the starting blocks.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's completely immovable, but it looks like it's already breaking the speed limit just sitting there. You're getting this massive tank-like contact patch with the road, but the center of gravity is practically scraping the pavement.
And that's not just a styling choice, That immense width, combined with that ultra-low stance, gives the car this incredibly aggressive, anchored posture. From an engineering perspective, widening the track while dropping the mass that low.
It changes the physics, right?
Exactly. It dramatically reduces body roll during high-speed cornering. It fundamentally changes how the car handles lateral G-forces. And they've draped all of that mechanical width in a design theme they are calling sculpted by light.
Okay, I always have to laugh at those automotive marketing phrases.
I know.
Sculpted by light sounds beautiful in a press release, sure, but what does that actually mean when you're just standing in front of the car?
Well, it really comes down to the metallurgy of the paint and the actual stamping of the body panels. They've developed this custom liquid metal paint called Apex Blue.
Okay.
Now, standard metallic paints, they use relatively coarse aluminum flakes that basically scatter light in all different directions.
Right, which gives it that sparkly look.
Exactly. But liquid metal paints use ultra-fine, perfectly flat flakes. They align super tightly with the contours of the bodywork.
Oh, so instead of a sparkly look, it acts more like a continuous fluid mirror.
Precisely. It creates this exceptional visual depth. So as the light travels across the car, or, as you walk around it, the paint gathers the light into these really intense halos along the sharpest creases of the metal.
Wow.
Yeah, it's an optical trick that really emphasizes the aerodynamic channels carved right into the sides of the car. It literally makes the static metal look like it's flowing.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
And then popping violently against that deep fluid Apex Blue are these incredibly sharp, aggressive spark yellow accents on the aero elements. It's
Yes.
just a stark visual contrast. You have this sweeping, elegant blue bodywork, violently punctuated by this high-visibility racing yellow.
And those spark yellow accents, they actually serve a very specific psychological purpose.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're visual cues. I mean, sure, they highlight the functional aerodynamic parts on the outside, but they also act as visual breadcrumbs, leading your eye directly into the interior, which is where the true split personality of this GT really lives.
Okay, well, let's follow those breadcrumbs inside, because the cockpit of a Grand Tour is a notoriously difficult space to engineer.
It's so tight.
You need that long-distance luxury, but you absolutely cannot lose the connection to the road. So unpacking the layout, they've gone with an open 2+2 seating arrangement. 2 generous seats up front and 2 smaller jump seats in the rear.
Right, which is the classic GT configuration.
But the material choices are what really caught my eye in the source material. The cabin is basically dominated by this white digital shimmer leather. The vibe is overwhelmingly bright, refined, and really welcoming.
Yeah.
If you were just glancing inside, you'd think this was a luxury lounge, not some kind of track weapon.
And that's the Grand Touring comfort aspect, perfectly executed. But then you look directly behind the seats and you find a completely different story. Oh yeah, they've integrated hand-inlaid Textreme 360 carbon fiber right into the structure behind the driver. And this isn't, your standard industrial-looking matte black woven carbon fiber either.
Right.
It's specifically engineered to shimmer, almost like a piece of high-end jewelry.
Okay, wait, I need to push pause here for a second.
Sure.
Carbon fiber that shimmers like starlight. That sounds exactly like another piece of marketing poetry to me. How does a structural composite material physically shimmer?
I get the skepticism, but it actually comes down to a really cool manufacturing technique called spread toe.
Spread toe.
Yeah. So traditional carbon fiber looks like a checkerboard, right? Because it's woven using these twisted yarns of carbon fibers.
Right, the classic weave.
But Textreme 360 uses a process where the fibers are spread out into perfectly flat ribbons before they're woven together.
Oh, I see. So there's no crimping or twisting at all. The fibers just lay completely flat against each other.
Exactly. And because those ribbons are completely flat, they pack much closer together, which actually requires less epoxy resin. Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that means it is significantly lighter and stronger than standard carbon fiber.
That makes sense.
But the aesthetic side effect is that those flat, unbroken ribbons of pure carbon catch the ambient light in a completely different way, creating that shimmering effect. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's brilliant.
It really is. So you basically have the ultimate track day weight-saving material, but it's treated like artisanal craftsmanship.
Exactly.
It's a brilliant juxtaposition. You're sitting there, enveloped in soft, white, luxury leather, but sitting right behind your head is this highly advanced, shimmering carbon structure, just constantly reminding you of the car's underlying violence.
Yes. It's the physical embodiment of the car's entire philosophy.
Yeah.
It invites you in with warmth,
Yeah.
but it never lets you forget its capability.
Which honestly brings up the million-dollar question for me.
Land or me?
If I'm the driver and I'm lounging in this beautiful starlit white digital shimmer cabin, how do I actually access that capability? Like, how do I transition this machine from a comfortable highway cruiser into a precision track instrument? Well, the answer is sitting right in the middle of the center console. The entire experience basically pivots around one single point of interaction.
And here is where it gets really interesting and honestly a bit defiant.
Yeah, defiance is a good word for it.
Because the absolute centerpiece of this futuristic 2026 concept car is a mechanical spark yellow button with a Y+9 sign on it.
Just a button.
I have to admit, when I first saw this in the press materials, I was genuinely confused.
Why is that?
Because we are living in an era where automakers are aggressively deleting every physical knob, switch, and dial they can find. They're burying everything from the windshield wipers to the air conditioning inside these massive glowing touchscreens.
Right, it's all glass now.
Yeah. So why would a forward-thinking brand center its massive halo car around a mechanical button?
Because a physical button requires something a touchscreen just doesn't, and that's intention. Yeah. In a world where everything is just a frictionless swipe on a piece of glass, physically depressing a mechanical switch is a deliberate act. It offers tactile feedback. You have to really commit to it. It's an evolution of their signature performance symbol, and it's designed to act as a ritual that bridges the gap between the human and the machine.
A performance ritual. I love that. And the physical transformation that happens when you complete that ritual is just wild.
Like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It really is. You press that My Pluff I button, and the car literally shifts its shape. First, the entire air suspension system drops the car by 15 millimeters.
Which is absolutely crucial for ground effect aerodynamics. By sucking the underbelly of the car closer to the tarmac, you speed up the air flowing underneath it.
Right.
And faster moving air creates lower pressure, which physically pulls the car down onto the tires, massively increasing grip without adding any actual weight.
That's amazing, but it doesn't even stop there. While the car is dropping, aerodynamic elements dynamically extend at the front and the rear.
Yeah, the physical body of the car stretches out.
It lengthens by a full 100 millimeters. That is about 4 inches of extra length just deploying on the fly, alongside a rear wing rising from the bodywork.
And that 100-millimeter extension is a total masterstroke in fluid dynamics.
How so?
Well, when a car is moving at really high speeds, the air eventually has to separate from the rear bumper. If it separates too violently, it creates a massive low-pressure wake, basically a vacuum that drags the car backward.
Oh, I hate that.
Right. So by physically extending the tail of the car, they are giving the air a longer, smoother path to travel before it detaches. It delays the separation, minimizes that turbulent wake, and lets the car slice through the air with far less aerodynamic drag.
Wow, so it's literally bracing itself for a high-speed impact with the atmosphere.
Exactly.
But as aggressively as the exterior is transforming, is what happens inside the cabin that completely blew my mind.
The screens.
The moment you press that button, the instrument panel and 3 separate digital screens literally fold away. They just physically retract right into the dashboard and disappear.
What's fascinating here is that it's a profound philosophical statement.
It's the ultimate anti-screen movement. I get so frustrated having to tap through 3 sub-menus just to turn on my defroster.
Yeah.
The idea that a performance car recognizes that screens are a distraction is just so refreshing.
Well, it really comes down to the psychology of focus.
Yeah.
When you are operating a machine at its absolute limits, you do not need to know what song is playing, or see your navigation map, or read a text message notification. By folding those screens away, the car strips away all the visual clutter of modern life.
You're just left with the basics.
Exactly. It leaves you with just the steering wheel, the pedals, and the road ahead. It forces a state of pure, unfiltered human concentration.
And frankly, you need that concentration.
Yeah.
Because the performance capabilities backing up this transforming chassis are terrifying.
They really are.
Okay, let's unpack this. We're looking at a rear-wheel drive platform capable of rocketing from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in a blistering 2 seconds.
Let's just linger on that for a second. 2 seconds to 100 kilometers an hour on a rear-wheel drive platform means the rear tires are managing an almost incomprehensible amount of torque.
Right. I mean, if this were a purely mechanical setup from 10 years ago, dumping that much power to the back wheels would just vaporize the tires in a cloud of white smoke.
No.
You'd never actually move forward, you'd just spin.
Exactly. So to manage that sustained power delivery, the car relies on a highly advanced AI-powered digital chassis.
Okay, AI-powered digital chassis. We hear AI attached to literally everything right now.
We do.
How does artificial intelligence actually make a car faster around a corner compared to, say, standard traction control?
Think of traditional mechanical traction control like a dog on a leash. It can only react after the dog pulls, right?
Right.
The tire has to lose grip and start spinning before the mechanical system detects the slip and physically yanks the engine power back to regain control. It's a reactive system, and cutting power loses you time.
So the AI acts differently then?
Yes, very differently. The AI is more like an expert skier reading the texture of the snow ahead of them. It isn't just reacting to slip, it's predicting it.
Oh, wow.
The artificial intelligence is reading the steering angle, the throttle input, the suspension load, and the road surface thousands of times a second. It calculates exactly when the tire will lose grip, and it vectors the torque left and right in milliseconds to keep the car right on the ragged edge of traction without ever actually going over it.
It's dynamically rewriting the limits of physics as you drive. That's insane. But you don't just invent a predictive algorithm like that overnight. A young company doesn't just guess how to manage a 2-second launch.
Yeah.
Where does that pedigree even come from?
It comes from the crucible of motorsport. And this is where Lynk Co actually has a massive advantage. Over the last 7 seasons of top-tier touring car racing, They have secured 9 championships.
Wait, 9 championships in 7 years?
Yep.
That is sheer dominance.
It really is. And touring car racing is incredibly demanding because the cars are fundamentally based on road-going chassis. So the millions of data points, the telemetry, the suspension tuning, and the torque management algorithms that their racing teams use to win those championships,
Yeah.
that data is fed directly into the training models for this AI digital chassis.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Right. The racing pedigree isn't just marketing, it's the actual code running the car.
It's championship DNA downloaded right into a street car.
Yeah.
But, this brings me to a bit of healthy skepticism.
Fair enough.
Because auto shows are famous for vaporware. Companies roll out these gorgeous tech-heavy concepts that look great under the auto show lights, but the company itself doesn't have the manufacturing muscle or the capital to actually build anything close to it.
That happens a lot.
So what does this all mean for Lynk Co? Let's pull back the curtain on them as a corporate entity. Are they actually capable of pulling this off?
The short answer is yes.
Oh, is it?
Absolutely. Yeah, they are operating from a position of immense global strength right now. Since being established in Gothenburg, Sweden, just 10 years ago in 2016, their growth has been pretty staggering. They currently operate in 25 European markets with over 140 partner-operated sales points.
And the user base is what really solidifies it for me when I was looking into this. They have a global community of over 1.76 million users driving their cars today.
That's a huge number.
It is. You don't get almost 2 million people into your ecosystem if you're just drawing pretty pictures of concept cars.
Exactly. They describe themselves as an innovative mobility provider, and they already have a heavily electrified fleet on the road. They're producing the fully electric O2, the highly popular plug-in hybrid O1, and the O8 PHEV.
Let's stop and look at that O8 PHEV for a moment, because I feel like the specs on that vehicle prove they have serious engineering chops.
Oh, without a doubt.
A standard plug-in hybrid, PHEV, typically gives you a tiny battery. You get maybe 30 or 40 miles of all-electric driving before the gas engine kicks in. But the O8 PHEV boasts an unprecedented 200 kilometers of all-electric range.
Which is huge. 200 kilometers fundamentally changes the paradigm of a hybrid.
It really does. If you have 200 kilometers of battery, you are effectively driving a full EV for like 95% of your life. You only ever use the combustion engine on massive road trips. And crucially, it supports DC fast charging, which most PHEVs do not have the thermal management to handle.
Right, because their batteries are just too small to absorb that much energy that fast without basically overheating.
Exactly.
So by engineering a battery system capable of 200 kilometers of range and DC fast charging, they're demonstrating high-level thermal and electrical engineering in a car you can buy today. It makes the futuristic AI chassis and the active aero and the time to shine concept feel highly plausible.
It proves they can execute. And the development process of this GT concept perfectly mirrors their whole corporate structure. Well, it was led by their Swedish-designed studio in Gothenburg, but it utilized joint development teams across Europe and China. It is a genuine global collaboration.
It perfectly marries that clean, purposeful Scandinavian design language with massive global engineering scale.
So what is the ultimate fate of this vehicle? Are we actually going to see a transforming 2-second GT hit the streets? Or is this just like an anniversary birthday present to themselves?
Well, this is where their modern approach to the industry really shines. Because they are so deeply embedded with their 1.76 million user community, they aren't just dictating what they will build.
Right.
They are using this reveal at the Beijing Auto Show to actively crowdsource feedback.
Oh, wow. So they're essentially asking their drivers, what do you want this to be?
Exactly.
They are gathering direct public input to determine the final powertrain options and to weigh the potential of moving this concept into actual production.
It is a totally democratic approach to building a supercar.
That is so cool. Well, we have covered so much ground today. We started by breaking down the fluid dynamics of a car draped in liquid metal apex blue.
A flowing mirror.
Yeah. And then we stepped inside to find an incredibly bold mix of welcoming white leather and shimmering flat toe Textreme carbon fiber.
Which is just the perfect tension between touring comfort and track aggression.
Completely. We analyzed the brilliant mechanics of extending the vehicle's bodywork to cheat the wind and explored how a predictive AI chassis uses championship racing data to basically keep 2-second acceleration glued to the pavement.
And it does it all with a single button press.
Right. But more than anything, we explored a vehicle that makes a profound philosophical statement for a brand celebrating 10 years of massive global growth.
A statement that the future of driving still absolutely belongs to the driver?
Before we sign off, I just want to take a moment to speak directly to you, our listener. Thank you so much for joining us and trusting us with your time today. Diving deep into these incredible engineering stories is what we genuinely love to do, and it is entirely your curiosity that drives this show forward.
Here, here. And as you head out into your day, I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on.
Go for it.
We constantly assume that the future of luxury means adding more, more features, more automation, more massive glowing screens everywhere. But looking at the time to shine concept, it really raises a provocative question. As our world becomes overwhelmingly digital, will the ultimate, most exclusive automotive luxury of tomorrow simply be a physical button that gives you the power to hide the screens, silence the noise, and hand the pure joy of focus back to the human?